Caracas, 2019. A man walks into a half-empty, half-dark pharmacy with a heavy gold chain in his fist, weighing about $600 at the current world market rate. This is not a jewelry dealer looking for a metal polish, nor is he an antique collector. This is a father desperately trying to buy a course of amoxicillin for his young daughter, who has rapidly developed sepsis from a simple toothache. The pharmacist looks at the shiny gold, then at the man's tired, haggard face and simply shakes his head slowly. Not because the gold is fake or of poor quality, but because the antibiotic is not available in the entire district, and no amount of precious metal will be able to materialize pills from the void. 3 blocks from this drugstore, a woman trades a regular bottle of cheap rum for a 10-day course of the same drug from her neighbor, who had the sense to stock up on veterinary drugs before the supermarket shelves became a symbol of the wasteland. That bottle of rum had cost her only $2 before the great systemic collapse. Antibiotics would have cost $3 in peacetime. At that particular brutal moment, a regular bottle of hard liquor turned out to be much more valuable than an ounce of pure gold. Not in the theory of Wall Street financial advisors, but in the reality of an ordinary Tuesday in the country that has the largest proven oil reserves on the planet. Most of you still believe that gold is the ultimate asset in any crisis, the final bastion of protection that you grab when the world starts to burst at the seams. You are deeply mistaken. We are embarking on this great economic dissection to debunk the major financial myth of the 21st century and show you the true anatomy of survival. There is a hidden knowledge about 3 specific items that cost pennies today at your local supermarket or hardware store, but in the year 2026 they will be worth more than any bank account, cryptocurrency wallet, or gold certificate. These are items that possess what we call existential leverage. These are assets whose utility becomes absolute precisely when the price of money becomes zero. But before we fully reveal this list and explain the mechanics of how it works, you need to answer one question honestly and soberly for yourself. Do you really believe that a global banking system based on $315 trillion in debt can forever maintain the illusion of value of your paper and digital assets? Are you willing to entrust the lives and safety of your loved ones to a system that is already showing all the signs of terminal systemic failure? Write in the comments right now what you consider the most valuable thing in your home if tomorrow all the stores and banks closed forever. Your diplomas from prestigious higher education and certificates of ownership of shares in technology giants are just derivatives that will instantly evaporate the moment institutional dependence becomes your main enemy. The modern global economy is a complex but extremely fragile fiat experiment, and we are rapidly approaching its logical, mathematically inevitable and destructive finale. But here's the part that no one tells you about on the evening financial news or in glossy investment magazines. Gold is a great store of value, perhaps the best in the documented history of mankind over the past 5,000 years. But gold has one fatal, almost childish flaw in a real systemic collapse, not just a cyclical recession. You can't drink it when you're thirsty. You can't swallow it to kill a bacterial infection that's threatening your child's life for 72 hours. You can't plant a gold coin in the ground and harvest calories 6 weeks later. Every empire that has collapsed, from Rome to the Soviet Union, has left behind exactly the same forensic history. It wasn't those who had the most conventional paper or metallic wealth who survived and maintained their dignity. It was those who understood what humans really needed for biological existence when all the usual systems of resource distribution had gone silent: clean water, basic medicines, seeds, warmth, and defensive skills. Everything else, every stock ticker on the screen, every bond certificate, every shiny metal disc, are just symbols of the social contract. And symbols only work as long as enough people around you continue to believe in what they represent. When the belief disappears, all that remains is the bare physics of survival. Think about this for a moment before we delve deeper into our investigation. We're doing economic autopsies here so you don't become the next anonymous case in the report on the collapse of civilization. If this analysis reveals something new to you or makes you think about the real state of your affairs, subscribe to our channel. We bring to light the financial expertise that institutions will never voluntarily publish and academic textbooks will never allow to be taught in universities. Subscribe if you are ready to see the truth that most people willfully ignore while you still have precious time to maneuver and prepare. The first item on our list is alcohol, but we see it not as a means of entertainment or escape from reality, but as the ultimate barter tool and multifunctional survival asset. Think about the historical experience of the Weimar Republic in 1923. When the paper mark depreciated by the hour and the price of a loaf of bread rose faster than people in line could count their paltry change, it was hard liquor that became the unofficial hard currency. Alcohol has a unique forensic signature in every systemic crisis of the past century. It never spoils when stored properly. It is extremely easy to divide into small portions for precise exchange. Its consumption naturally increases precisely when the world around it becomes unbearably gloomy. But the main thing is its technical versatility. In a world where hospitals stop accepting patients and medicine supply chains are broken, alcohol becomes your main antiseptic, universal fuel for alcohol burners, and the only available means of anesthesia. When institutional dependence on the power grid and the complex medical system leads to their collapse, an ordinary bottle of 40-degree drink turns into what we call a basic asset. It has an intrinsic value that requires absolutely no signature from a central bank governor or approval from the International Monetary Fund. It is a self-sufficient unit of economic exchange. But here's the part that no one tells you about in survival textbooks or financial literacy courses. The second subject in our autopsy is antibiotics, and it is what we call existential leverage in its purest and most concentrated form. Imagine the year 2026. Supply chains are disrupted by global conflict or a cybernetic failure of the banking network. Pharmacies stand empty with their windows broken, and a simple scratch on your hand while gardening or taking out the trash turns into a death sentence due to blood poisoning. At such a critical moment, one tablet of a broad-spectrum antibiotic can buy you absolutely everything, from fuel for a generator to protecting your home to a month's worth of food. A person who owns pounds of gold but is slowly dying of sepsis will not hesitate to give all of his gold to someone who has the only means to save him. This is the real redistribution of wealth due to the scarcity of information and vital resources. But here's a secret that can save your life, and which is usually kept quiet by the major medical institutions. Many of the antibiotics sold in pet stores for the treatment of aquarium fish, such as amoxicillin, ciprofloxacin, or tetracycline, are often produced on the same pharmaceutical lines and have the same chemical purity as expensive drugs for humans. They cost only a few dollars today and are available for purchase without a prescription. This is not medical advice. This is cold fact from the field of financial forensics of survival. When the system collapses, artificial legal barriers instantly disappear, leaving the person face to face with biological reality. History has left its clear mark here for centuries. During each great redistribution of wealth, objects capable of saving human lives have shown an explosive increase in their real value relative to gold and silver. In besieged Leningrad during the siege, for a single can of canned meat or a short course of medicine, people gave up priceless paintings from the Hermitage, and family silver accumulated over generations. This is the true nature of existential leverage. When your own life or the life of your child is on the scales, any other abstract asset instantly loses its magical weight. Your savings today are just numbers on a screen, completely dependent on whether the electricity grid is working today and whether the state has enough money to support servers. Antibiotics are capital that works with maximum efficiency, even in complete pitch darkness. We are gradually moving on to the third subject, and these are seeds of ancient, non-hybrid, and non-genetically modified plant varieties. Most modern people buy seeds in bright paper bags in chain supermarkets, not even suspecting the insidious trap of institutional dependence. These are mostly first-generation hybrids which, by their nature, do not give a full harvest the next year. You are forced to return to large corporations every time to buy a new portion of life for your garden, but the seeds of ancient so-called relict varieties are what we call biological multiplication of capital. One small seed planted in the ground today turns into 1,000 seeds in the fall. This is perhaps the only investment asset in the world that has a 100% internal ability to endlessly reproduce itself without any participation of the stock market, brokers, or central banks. In 2026, your ability to produce your own calories will be the dividing line between those who humbly beg the system for help and those who maintain complete economic and biological autonomy. Think about this for a moment, looking at the very essence of things. Gold is a static asset. It just sits in your safe. It doesn't grow or multiply. Seeds are a dynamic asset. It grows, develops, and multiplies according to the laws of nature. In a world where food supply chains are completely controlled by a few multinational corporations, owning the means to produce your own food is the highest level of anti-fragility imaginable. The history of Russian dachas in 1992 convincingly demonstrated that it was agricultural literacy and small seed reserves that saved millions of people from starvation when the Soviet industrial food distribution system simply evaporated along with the state. The diplomas of leading engineers and scientists turned out to be worthless compared to the knowledge of how to properly grow potatoes and save seeds for the next year. But here's the part that no one tells you openly. Most of you naively believe that you will have time to prepare when the first alarm bells of a real crisis finally sound. This is a dangerous illusion born of the alarm noise of today's global economy. The system has been designed and refined for decades precisely to keep you absolutely certain about tomorrow until the very last second before collapse. When the market crashed in 1929, most big investors thought for weeks that it was just a temporary technical correction before a new rise. When Rome slowly devalued its currency over the centuries, the average citizen believed to the last that his copper coin still had the same purchasing power as the silver denarius of his great-grandfather's time. This is the information deficit that the system always uses against you to get out of the game at your expense. In 2026, we will likely see the final phase of this global fiat experiment. The global debt has become so astronomical that it can no longer be paid off by any means other than the complete destruction of the purchasing power of all paper currencies through hyperinflation. This is a pre-planned redistribution of wealth from the poor and middle class to the owners of real assets. And in this game, gold will certainly be your reliable lifeline to preserve the wealth you already have. But alcohol, basic medicines, and seeds will be your real engine for physical survival and gaining new influence in a world that will change forever. The collapse of the system is not at all the death of the economy as such. It is only its rapid transition to a primitive, natural state, where the strict laws of physical necessity operate, not complex digital contracts or legal norms. This is the moment of truth, when institutional dependency becomes a death sentence for those who have nothing but basic assets and applied skills. Consider this forensic fact. In every major collapse of the past century, the real value of essential commodities relative to gold has increased tens, sometimes hundreds of times. A person who has a box of antibiotics today is effectively buying security and a future in 2026 at a price that seems ridiculous and insignificant to us today. You are not preparing for some hypothetical, unrealistic scenario from a Hollywood horror movie. You are living in a real world where the average lifespan of any paper currency is only 27 years, and the global financial order has not undergone a fundamental change in over 70 years. We are in the territory of mathematical and statistical inevitability. The question today is not whether this great collapse will happen, but what your personal status will be in the new economic landscape after the smoke clears. Will you be the one desperately holding a gold bar and begging for a single penicillin tablet on your lap, or the one calmly holding that penicillin in your hands and dictating your own terms of exchange? This is something that will never be written about in macroeconomics textbooks, but the real price of anything is not at all what they ask for it in a flashy store today. The real price is what you are willing to pay for it without a penny when it turns out to be the only thing standing between you and the ultimate catastrophe. This is the very essence of what we call existential leverage. Alcohol, antibiotics, and relic seeds are your three main pillars of personal anti-fragility. This is your real capital, which cannot be confiscated through bank freezes, taxed through new laws, or simply devalued by the work of the central bank's printing press. We have conducted this detailed economic autopsy so that you can finally see the hidden but merciless mechanics of our common future. History does not teach us how to get rich quickly in the stock market or guess the price of shares. It teaches us only one thing: how not to become helpless victims of the systemic errors of illusory prosperity. Your diploma, your credit history, your digital savings in the cloud, all these are symbols that require a complex, energy-consuming, and honest system to function. The items on our list are biological and physical realities that function on their own, regardless of the state of the world order. Think about everything you have heard today very seriously. Start creating your own stock of basic assets today, while the signal noise and old habits still allow you to buy them with depreciated but still valid paper money. Every bottle of alcohol, every package of medicine, and every small bag of seeds of ancient varieties is your personal ticket to a world where you will not be another helpless object of autopsy, but will become the one who conducts this autopsy independently and confidently. The future in 2026 will belong not to those who have accumulated the largest numbers on the screen of their smartphone, but to those who have understood the deep physical nature of value and time. Be as vigilant as possible during this time of transition. Don't let the system fool you with the sweet illusion of temporary stability. The crash of 2026 has already left its first forensic handwriting on the charts of hidden inflation and astronomical national debt. The only question is whether you have the personal courage and intellectual honesty to read this writing on the wall to the very end. We will continue our great autopsy in the next video, where we will look even deeper into the dark corners of the global financial pathology that is eating away at our world from the inside. Protect your real, basic capital while it is still under your control. See you in the next autopsy, where we will reveal the next level of what they are so carefully trying to hide from your eyes.